BTS News Today. The moment Jungkook's name became linked to Italy, the global BTS fandom seemed to collectively pause, inhale, and then explode with curiosity. Italy, a country synonymous with timeless art, cinematic romance, high fashion, and history that breathes through every stone street, is not just another travel destination. When a figure like Jungkook, whose movements are scrutinized with almost scholarly devotion by millions of fans, is rumored to be there for what insiders describe as a major mission, speculation naturally ignites. Yet what makes this situation even more compelling is not what is known, but how much remains deliberately unspoken. Unlike past overseas schedules that came with official announcements, teaser photos, or brand confirmations, Jungkook's presence in Italy arrived like a whisper rather than a headline. It surfaced through subtle clues: a familiar silhouette spotted near a historic building, a fleeting reflection caught in a cafe window, and unverified accounts from locals who claim to recognize his unmistakable aura even beneath the hat and mask. In an era where celebrity movements are often meticulously documented, this silence has only intensified curiosity. Armies across continents are now asking the same question repeatedly and with growing urgency. What is Jungkook really doing in Italy? For years, Jungkook has been known not only as BTS's golden magne, but as an artist in constant evolution. His journey has never been limited to music alone. From performance to visual storytelling, from athletic discipline to emotional expression, Jungkook has consistently shown a desire to grow beyond the expectations placed upon him. Italy, with its layered cultural significance, feels like a deliberate choice rather than coincidence. It is a place where artists historically retreat to reflect, to reinvent, and to find inspiration that cannot be replicated elsewhere. Those close to the industry suggest that this trip is far more than a casual visit or simple brand engagement. The word mission itself carries weight. It implies purpose, intention, and perhaps a long-term vision that Jungkook has been quietly nurturing. Italy has long been a favored backdrop for high-concept art films, luxury fashion campaigns, and deeply personal creative projects. From Renaissance masterpieces to modern cinema, the country represents a bridge between tradition and innovation, something that mirrors Jungkook's own artistic trajectory. Army, known for their unmatched analytical skills, quickly began connecting dots. Some believe Jungkook is working on a visual-heavy solo project, possibly an album concept that leans into cinematic storytelling rather than conventional music video formats. Italy's dramatic architecture, golden hour landscapes, and historical symbolism would provide a powerful canvas for such an endeavor. Others speculate that this mission may involve a collaboration with renowned European creatives, directors, or fashion houses, aligning Jungkook with a global artistic lineage rather than a single industry label. What adds another layer of intrigue is Jungkook's recent pattern of silence. While he remains emotionally present with fans through occasional messages and subtle gestures, he has noticeably stepped back from oversharing. This restraint feels intentional, as though he is guarding something precious until the right moment arrives. Longtime fans recognize this behavior. Jungkook has often chosen to let his work speak first, allowing meaning to unfold naturally rather than through preemptive explanation. Italy itself seems to echo this approach. The country does not rush its stories. It allows them to age, to deepen, and to reveal themselves over time. In that sense, Jungkook's choice of Italy feels symbolic. It suggests patience, depth, and a willingness to immerse himself fully rather than skim the surface. Whether walking through narrow Roman streets at dawn or standing silently in a centuries-old hall, one can imagine Jungkook absorbing inspiration in ways that cameras cannot capture. Some fans have pointed out the emotional undertones of this trip. Italy has often been associated with themes of solitude, self-discovery, and transformation in art and literature. If Jungkook is indeed on a personal creative mission, it may reflect a period of introspection. As BTS members continue to grow individually while maintaining their collective identity, moments like these become essential chapters rather than detours. Jungkook is no longer just proving his talent. He is defining his legacy. There is also the possibility that this mission transcends music entirely. Jungkook has expressed admiration for visual arts, photography, and filmmaking. Italy, home to some of the world's most prestigious art institutions and creative communities, could be the setting for a project that challenges how fans perceive him. A short film, an art exhibition collaboration, or even a documentary-style exploration of creativity are not out of the realm of possibility. Jungkook has always been unpredictable in the most exciting way. Meanwhile, ARMY continues to wait, not with impatience, but with a quiet trust earned over years of shared growth. Fans have learned that Jungkook's silences often precede moments that feel deeply personal and profoundly impactful. The lack of official confirmation has not diminished excitement. If anything, it has made the anticipation more meaningful. This is not just about seeing Jungkook in Italy. It is about witnessing the next phase of his evolution unfold in real time. Social media remains filled with theories, emotional messages, and artistic tributes inspired by this mystery. Fan artists imagine Jungkook framed by marble columns and soft Italian light. Writers craft stories of him wandering through ancient streets, carrying melodies only he can hear. These expressions are not demands for answers, but reflections of how deeply Jungkook's journey resonates with people who may never meet him, yet feel connected through his art. In the end, perhaps the true significance of this mission lies not in its final reveal, but in what it represents. Jungkook choosing Italy, choosing silence, and choosing intention suggests an artist who understands the value of timing. Whatever emerges from this journey will likely carry layers of meaning shaped by history, atmosphere, and personal reflection. When Jungkook finally shares the results of this mission, it may not just be a project to consume, but an experience to feel. Until then, Italy remains a beautiful question mark, and Jungkook remains at its center, quietly writing the next chapter of his story while the world watches, waits, and believes that whatever comes next will be worth every moment of anticipation. As days pass and no official statement emerges, the silence surrounding Jungkook's time in Italy begins to feel less like secrecy and more like intention. In the modern entertainment industry, where anticipation is often manufactured through teasers and leaks, this absence of information stands out sharply. It suggests a different rhythm, one that Jungkook seems increasingly drawn to. Rather than inviting the world into every step of his process, he appears to be reclaiming something deeply personal, the freedom to create without immediate judgment. Those familiar with Jungkook's artistic history know that he thrives most when given space. From late-night live sessions where he casually sang unfinished melodies to moments where he openly spoke about self-doubt and growth, Jungkook has always been honest about the internal battles that accompany his talent. Italy, with its slower pace and reverence for craft, offers the perfect environment for an artist seeking clarity. It is easy to imagine him spending hours revisiting ideas, refining concepts, and questioning not just how to create, but why. This trip also arrives at a meaningful moment in Jungkook's career. He stands at a point where he no longer needs to prove his abilities. His voice, stage presence, and emotional depth have already earned global recognition. What lies ahead now is definition rather than validation. Many artists reach this stage and choose either comfort or risk. Jungkook, by all indications, has chosen the latter. A major mission implies stakes, and Italy, steeped in centuries of artistic risk-taking, feels like the ideal place to confront them. Observers have noted how Jungkook's recent creative output has leaned toward intimacy and vulnerability. His lyrics, performances, and even his body language suggest an artist exploring the quieter corners of emotion rather than chasing spectacle alone. If this mission involves music, it may reflect a shift towards storytelling that prioritizes mood, atmosphere, and meaning over immediate impact. Italy's visual language, soft shadows, textured walls, and timeless scenery naturally complements such an artistic direction. There is also an undeniable symbolism in Jungkook choosing to be far from familiar surroundings. Distance has a way of sharpening perspective. Away from the constant noise of schedules, expectations, and labels, an artist can hear his own voice more clearly. Italy, unlike the hyper-paced environments Jungkook is accustomed to, encourages stillness. Cafes where time seems suspended, streets where history lingers in the air, and landscapes that remind one how small yet significant a single life can be all serve as quiet teachers. Army, watching from afar, seems to sense this significance intuitively. Rather than demanding updates, many fans have expressed support for Jungkook's privacy, framing this journey as something sacred rather than suspicious. This reaction speaks volumes about the relationship Jungkook has built with his audience. It is a bond rooted not just in admiration, but in trust. Fans believe that whatever Jungkook is preparing, it will reflect sincerity, depth, and growth at the same time. Speculation continues, not as intrusion, but as curiosity fueled by love. Some fans believe this mission may redefine how Jungkook presents himself as a solo artist on the global stage. Italy has often been the birthplace of iconic reinventions, where artists emerge transformed yet unmistakably themselves. If Jungkook returns with a project shaped by this environment, it could mark a turning point not only in his career, but in how idol artistry is perceived worldwide. There is also the emotional weight of absence. Jungkook's physical distance from Korea, from his members, and from the routines he knows well, adds a layer of quiet tension to this story. It reminds fans that growth often requires separation, even if temporary. BTS has always emphasized the importance of individual journeys within their collective bond, and Jungkook's mission in Italy feels like a living embodiment of that philosophy. As nights fall over Italy and days begin anew, Jungkook remains unseen, unheard, yet profoundly present in the thoughts of millions. Every unanswered question adds depth rather than frustration. Every rumor, every blurred photo, every whispered account becomes part of a larger narrative about an artist choosing purpose over noise. Eventually, the mission will end. Jungkook will return, and with him will come whatever he has been quietly shaping in Italy. When that moment arrives, it is likely that fans will look back on this period not as a time of uncertainty, but as the calm before something meaningful. Until then, Italy stands as more than a location. It is a chapter written in silence, anticipation, and unwavering belief that Jungkook's journey, wherever it leads, continues to be guided by heart, intention, and an unrelenting desire to grow, continuing seamlessly, preserving the new style narrative, emotional depth, and speculative intrigue, without bullet points and in English, as the story stretches on. What becomes increasingly clear is that Jungkook's mission in Italy is not meant to be consumed in fragments. It resists the fast-paced cycle of trending topics and viral moments, asking instead to be understood as a whole. This resistance alone speaks volumes. In a world where idols are often expected to constantly perform visibility, Jungkook's quiet withdrawal feels almost radical. It signals maturity, confidence, and a deep understanding of his own creative rhythm. There is something poetic about an artist known for explosive performances and powerful vocals choosing stillness as the backdrop for his next chapter. Italy, with its ability to hold centuries within a single frame, mirrors this duality perfectly. It is a place where grand cathedrals coexist with intimate alleyways, where silence can be as expressive as sound. If Jungkook is indeed crafting something new here, it is likely influenced by this balance between scale and subtlety. Industry insiders have quietly hinted that whatever Jungkook is working on is not rushed. That alone sets this project apart. Time, in creative terms, is a luxury, and Jungkook appears to be using it deliberately. Rather than aiming for immediate release or commercial dominance, the focus seems to be on authenticity. This aligns with Jungkook's long-standing desire to create work that feels honest rather than manufactured, even if it challenges expectations. Fans have begun to reflect on Jungkook's past statements about wanting to be remembered not just as an idol, but as an artist who truly felt what he expressed. That ambition requires courage. It means risking misunderstanding and choosing depth over comfort. Italy, historically a place where artists have wrestled with identity and purpose, becomes more than a backdrop. It becomes a collaborator in its own right. There is also an emotional undercurrent that cannot be ignored. Jungkook's journey has been marked by extraordinary success at a young age, and with that success comes pressure that few can fully comprehend. A mission like this may be as much about self-preservation as it is about creation. Stepping away, even briefly, allows for reflection, healing, and reconnection with the reasons he began making music in the first place. That ARMY's response to this prolonged mystery has evolved. Initial shock turned into curiosity, curiosity into quiet anticipation, and anticipation into collective reflection. Fans are revisiting old performances, lyrics, and interviews, finding new meaning in words that once felt simple. Jungkook's silence has, in a way, encouraged deeper listening. It has reminded people that art does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives softly, carrying more weight because of it. The idea of a major mission continues to resonate because it suggests intention beyond routine. Missions are not undertaken lightly. They require preparation, commitment, and belief in the outcome. Whatever Jungkook envisioned before arriving in Italy, it was important enough to step away from the familiar and embrace uncertainty. That choice alone reflects an artist unafraid of growth. Even when it means stepping into the unknown, Italy continues to cradle this unseen process. The world waits. Not impatiently, but attentively. Jungkook's story has always been one of evolution, and this chapter, though quiet, feels significant. It is a reminder that not all milestones are marked by applause. Some are defined by solitude, contemplation, and the courage to listen to one's inner voice. When Jungkook eventually speaks about this time, whether through music, visuals, or words, it will likely carry echoes of Italy's timelessness and introspection. Until then, this mission remains a powerful symbol of an artist choosing depth over noise, intention over exposure, and meaning over immediacy. And for ARMY, that choice is not just respected, it is cherished. With each passing day, Jungkook's unseen presence in Italy begins to feel almost mythical, as though he exists between reality and imagination. This is not the usual kind of celebrity narrative driven by airport photos or brand sightings. Instead, it is a story built on atmosphere, restraint, and the quiet confidence of an artist who no longer needs constant confirmation of his relevance. Jungkook's absence from the spotlight has paradoxically made his influence feel stronger, reminding the world that true impact does not always demand visibility. There is a growing sense that this mission is about alignment rather than exposure. Jungkook has spent much of his life moving at extraordinary speed, propelled by global success and relentless schedules. Italy offers the opposite experience. It encourages slowness, presence, and awareness. In such an environment, creativity is not forced, it unfolds. This shift in pace may be exactly what Jungkook needs at this stage of his life, allowing ideas to mature naturally rather than under pressure. Many fans have noted how Jungkook's artistry has always carried an emotional sincerity that transcends language. His voice communicates longing, warmth, uncertainty, and hope in equal measure. If this mission involves new music, it is likely shaped by moments of solitude rather than spectacle. One can imagine Jungkook listening closely to the sounds around him. Footsteps echoing on stone, distant conversations in a language not his own, church bells marking time not in urgency, but in ritual. These experiences subtly inform creativity in ways that cannot be replicated in a studio alone. There is also the possibility that Jungkook is redefining how he wants to tell his story. As an idol who grew up in the public eye, his narrative has often been interpreted through others' lenses. A mission carried out quietly, far from familiar structures, offers him the rare chance to reclaim authorship. Italy's deep respect for individual expression and artistic heritage provides fertile ground for such a reclamation. It is a place that honors process as much as outcome, a philosophy that resonates strongly with Jungkook's recent artistic direction. That ARMY's role in this unfolding story is unique. Rather than demanding access, fans have become witnesses to a pause. They sense that this silence is meaningful, not dismissive. Messages of encouragement continue to surface across platforms, filled with trust and reassurance rather than entitlement. This mutual understanding reflects a relationship that has matured alongside Jungkook himself. Fans no longer see growth as something that must be shared immediately. They recognize it as something that sometimes must be protected. Speculation about collaborations continues, but it feels secondary to the larger emotional narrative. Whether Jungkook is working with renowned creatives or simply with himself, the essence of this mission appears deeply personal. It is not driven by trends, charts, or validation. Instead, it seems guided by a desire to feel grounded, intentional, and honest. That alone sets it apart in an industry often fueled by urgency. AS Italy holds this chapter quietly. The sense of anticipation transforms into something more reflective. People are not just waiting to see what Jungkook will release next. They are considering what it means for an artist to choose inward growth in a culture that rewards constant output. Jungkook's decision challenges conventional expectations and offers a powerful reminder that rest, reflection, and reinvention are not signs of absence, but of strength. Eventually, this period will be remembered not for what was revealed, but for what was protected. Jungkook's mission in Italy may one day be explained in interviews or documented through art, but its true significance lies in its intention. It represents a moment where an artist stepped away from noise to listen more closely to himself. And when Jungkook finally returns to the public eye with whatever this journey has shaped, it will not feel sudden. It will feel earned. Italy will no longer be just a location attached to a rumor, but a meaningful chapter in Jungkook's ongoing evolution, one that fans will look back on as the quiet turning point before something deeply resonant began. As the quiet stretch of time continues, Jungkook's mission in Italy begins to invite a broader reflection on what it means to grow in public while choosing privacy. For someone whose adolescence, adulthood, and artistry have unfolded under constant observation. Moments like these are rare and invaluable. Italy, with its reverence for personal expression and its gentle resistance to haste, becomes not merely a setting but a sanctuary. It offers Jungkook something the global stage rarely does: permission to exist without explanation. There is an almost cinematic quality to this chapter of his life. The idea of Jungkook walking through spaces shaped by centuries of human creativity evokes a sense of continuity, as if he is quietly conversing with artists who came long before him. Painters, poets, musicians, and thinkers who once questioned their own purpose may have stood in similar silence, wondering what their work would mean to those who followed. In that sense, Jungkook's journey feels timeless rather than trendy, rooted in the universal search for meaning through creation. This mission also subtly reframes the conversation around success. Jungkook has already reached heights that many only dream of, yet his choices suggest that achievement alone is not enough. Fulfillment, depth, and authenticity appear to matter more now than ever. Italy's culture, which values craftsmanship and patience, reinforces this shift. It reminds artists that the most enduring works are not rushed, and that beauty often reveals itself slowly. Army, observing from afar, has begun to treat this period almost like a collective pause. Fans are not simply waiting for news, they are reflecting alongside him. Old lyrics take on new resonance. Past interviews are revisited with fresh understanding. There is a shared sense that Jungkook is preparing something that will not just entertain, but communicate. And communication, for Jungkook, has always been about emotion rather than spectacle. The mystery surrounding the mission has also deepened appreciation for Jungkook's autonomy. For years, his identity has been intertwined with expectations, projections, and narratives crafted by others. Choosing to step away, to be present only in fragments and whispers, is a powerful assertion of control. It signals an artist who knows his worth and trusts his process enough to let anticipation build naturally. There is no anxiety in this waiting, only curiosity laced with faith. Fans understand that Jungkook's creative cycles are deeply emotional and intuitive. When he emerges, it will be because he is ready, not because the moment demands it. That distinction matters. It transforms this mission from a rumor into a statement about artistic integrity. As Italy continues to hold Jungkook's silence gently, the story remains unfinished, deliberately so. Each unanswered question adds texture rather than tension. Each day without confirmation strengthens the sense that something meaningful is taking shape beyond the reach of speculation. This is not the absence of content. It is the presence of intention. One day, Jungkook will speak of this time, whether through a melody that carries quiet longing, a visual that lingers like a memory, or words chosen carefully after reflection. When that happens, Italy will no longer be just the backdrop of a mystery. It will be understood as the place where Jungkook allowed himself to slow down, listen inward, and choose depth over noise. Until that reveal arrives, this chapter stands as a reminder that some journeys are not meant to be documented step by step. Some are meant to be felt only when they are complete. And in this quiet, purposeful mission in Italy, Jungkook continues to show that true artistry often begins where the world grows silent. As the days quietly accumulate, Jungkook's time in Italy begins to feel less like a temporary absence and more like a deliberate threshold between who he has been and who he is becoming. Thresholds are often invisible in the moment, only gaining clarity in hindsight, and this mission carries that same subtle power. Nothing dramatic has been announced, yet everything feels significant. It is the kind of transition that does not announce itself loudly, but reshapes the foundation beneath it. There is an emotional maturity evident in how Jungkook is navigating this phase. In earlier years, moments away from the spotlight often came with reassurance or explanation. Now, there is no such framing. The silence is not defensive, it is calm. It suggests an artist who has learned that he does not owe constant access to his inner world, even to those who love him most. This realization marks a profound step forward, one that many artists struggle to reach. Italy, in its quiet grandeur, seems to affirm this choice. Its cities are filled with unfinished stories, artworks interrupted by time, and structures that remain powerful even in ruin. Nothing here insists on perfection or immediacy. Instead, meaning accumulates slowly, shaped by presence and endurance. For Jungkook, existing within this environment may be gently reshaping how he views his own creative timeline. Not everything must be completed at once. Not everything must be explained right away. Fans have begun to speak about this mission in softer tones. Where excitement once dominated, now there is reverence. Jungkook's journey is being treated as something intimate, almost sacred. ARMY understands that what is being protected now may be the very thing that allows him to continue creating for years to come. This shared understanding deepens the bond between artist and audience, transforming anticipation into quiet solidarity. There is also a growing awareness that this chapter may influence Jungkook beyond a single project. Experiences like this often leave lasting imprints, shaping how an artist approaches future work, collaboration, and even rest. Italy may become a reference point in his memory, a place he returns to mentally whenever he needs grounding. Such places often become invisible companions, quietly informing creative decisions long after the journey ends. The phrase "major mission" continues to echo because it captures both scale and intention. Even if the outcome appears subtle, the decision to undertake it was not. It required trust in himself, confidence in his audience, and the courage to step away from familiar structures. These are not small choices. They reflect an artist who understands that longevity is built not only through output, but through care for one's inner life. As the world continues to speculate, the most striking element of this story remains its restraint. Jungkook has not teased, hinted, or redirected attention. He has simply gone where he needed to go. That simplicity carries its own strength. It strips the narrative of excess and leaves only essence, an artist, a place, and a period of intentional growth. When this mission eventually becomes visible through art or words, it will likely feel less like a reveal and more like a continuation. Fans will recognize traces of Italy not just in visuals or themes, but in the calm confidence with which Jungkook presents himself. The influence will be subtle, woven into tone rather than spectacle, into depth rather than display. For now, this chapter remains suspended in quiet anticipation. Italy holds Jungkook gently, ARMY holds space patiently, and the story continues to unfold without urgency. In that stillness, something meaningful is clearly forming, something shaped not by noise or pressure, but by intention, reflection, and an artist's willingness to grow in silence before speaking again. As time stretches on, Jungkook's mission in Italy begins to redefine how absence itself can become a form of presence. Though unseen, he feels closer than ever in spirit, as if his quiet choices are speaking louder than any public appearance could. This paradox lies at the heart of Jungkook's journey. The more he steps back from visibility, the more clearly his values emerge. Italy has become the silent witness to this shift, holding space for an artist who is learning to trust stillness as much as motion. There is a sense that Jungkook is allowing himself to experience life without translating every moment into content. For someone who has grown accustomed to documenting emotions through lyrics, performances, and live interactions, this restraint is profound. It suggests a conscious decision to live first and create later, to let experiences settle before shaping them into art. Italy's rhythm supports this beautifully. Life there does not demand constant narration. It invites observation, patience, and quiet appreciation. This phase also subtly challenges the traditional expectations placed on global idols. Jungkook's career has been defined by discipline, responsiveness, and an almost superhuman ability to meet demand. By choosing a mission that unfolds privately, he is redefining success on his own terms. It is no longer about visibility or validation, but about sustainability. Italy, with its enduring monuments and slow-changing landscapes, reinforces the idea that what lasts is built carefully, not hurriedly. That Army's evolving response reflects a shared growth. Fans are no longer counting days or chasing confirmation. Instead, they are embracing the unknown as part of the journey. There is comfort in believing that Jungkook is where he needs to be, doing what he needs to do. This collective patience feels like a quiet pact between artist and audience, rooted in mutual respect rather than expectation. The emotional texture of this mission is perhaps its most compelling element. Jungkook's artistry has always been deeply connected to feeling, and Italy offers a landscape rich in emotional contrasts. Grandeur and simplicity exist side by side. Beauty carries the weight of history. Joy and melancholy often intertwine. These are not just aesthetic qualities, but emotional ones, and they align closely with the kind of expression Jungkook has been gravitating toward in recent years. It is also worth considering how this mission may influence Jungkook's sense of identity beyond his role as a performer. Time away from familiar labels allows space for self-definition. In Italy, he is not just an idol or a global star. He is a person moving through streets, absorbing light, listening to unfamiliar sounds, and existing without performance. That experience alone can be transformative, reshaping how one returns to the world. As speculation continues to ebb and flow, one truth remains steady. This mission is intentional. It is not an escape, nor a pause without purpose. It is a deliberate investment in depth, clarity, and long-term artistry. Jungkook's willingness to choose this path reflects a confidence that cannot be taught, only earned through years of experience and self-reflection. When the time comes for Jungkook to share what this journey has shaped, it will likely arrive quietly, without fanfare. And yet, its impact will resonate deeply. Fans will recognize the difference not because they were told, but because they will feel it. Italy will be present in the calmness of his voice, the patience of his choices, and the sincerity of his expression. Until then, this story remains open-ended, suspended in a space where growth happens unseen. Jungkook's mission in Italy stands as a powerful reminder that some of the most important chapters in an artist's life are written away from the spotlight. And in that quiet distance, something enduring is taking form, waiting for the right moment to return and be shared with the world. As this quiet chapter unfolds, Jungkook's mission in Italy begins to reveal its deeper resonance not through facts, but through feeling. It is no longer simply about where he is or what he may be working on. It is about what this moment represents in the long arc of his life as an artist. Italy, in this sense, becomes less of a destination and more of a mirror, reflecting back the questions Jungkook may be asking himself away from the noise of expectation. There is a growing understanding among those who follow his journey closely that this period is not about reinvention for the sake of change, but refinement. Jungkook has never lacked passion or discipline. What he appears to be seeking now is alignment between his inner world and the art he chooses to release into the outer one. Italy's layered history, where beauty is preserved rather than replaced, reinforces the idea that evolution does not require erasure. It requires patience. This mission also subtly shifts the emotional contract between Jungkook and the public. By choosing not to narrate every step, he is inviting people to trust him in a new way, not through constant reassurance, but through consistency of intention. The absence of updates has not weakened that trust, it has strengthened it. Fans sense that whatever Jungkook is preparing carries sincerity, and sincerity has always been the core of his appeal. The longer this silence lasts, the more meaningful it becomes. It stands in contrast to an industry that thrives on immediacy and constant stimulation. Jungkook's choice suggests that he understands something essential, that art created under pressure may impress, but art created with care endures. Italy, with its weathered masterpieces and unfinished works that remain revered, offers daily reminders of this truth. Emotionally, this period feels like a deep breath taken after years of momentum. Jungkook has spent much of his life moving forward at extraordinary speed, meeting milestones that most never reach. To pause within that trajectory, even briefly, is not a retreat but a recalibration. It allows space for gratitude, for memory, and for intention. These are not luxuries, but necessities for an artist who wishes to remain honest with himself. ARMY continues to hold this space with remarkable gentleness. There is pride in seeing Jungkook prioritize his inner life, and comfort in knowing that growth is happening even when it cannot be seen. This shared understanding transforms waiting into participation. Fans are not outside the story. They are part of its emotional fabric, trusting that the silence carries meaning. As Italy continues to quietly frame this chapter, its influence feels increasingly internal rather than visible. The change may not announce itself through dramatic visuals or bold statements. Instead, it may appear in subtler ways, in restraint, in emotional clarity, in choices that feel grounded rather than rushed. These are the kinds of changes that last. Eventually, Jungkook will return to the public eye, and when he does, the conversation will shift from questions to recognition. People will sense that something has settled, something has clarified. Italy will no longer be a mystery, but a memory embedded in tone, presence, and intention. For now, the story remains open, unfolding at its own pace. Jungkook's mission in Italy stands as a quiet declaration that growth does not always need witnesses. Sometimes, it needs distance, silence, and the courage to listen inward before speaking again. And in that quiet courage, Jungkook continues to shape not just his next project, but the artist he is becoming. The silence surrounding Jungkook's mission in Italy continues. It begins to feel less like an unanswered question and more like a deliberate language of its own. Silence, after all, has always played a role in Jungkook's artistry. Between notes, between movements on stage, and between words spoken carefully, he has often allowed quiet moments to carry as much meaning as sound. This chapter feels like an extension of that philosophy, expanded beyond performance and into life itself. There is an emotional honesty in choosing not to explain everything. Jungkook has grown up in an environment where interpretation often arrives before intention, where every gesture is dissected and every pause questioned. By stepping away without clarification, he is gently reshaping that dynamic. He is asking the world to wait, not because it must, but because it can. Italy, with its reverence for pauses and spaces, becomes the ideal environment for such a recalibration. This mission also reflects a growing awareness of legacy. Jungkook is no longer simply creating for the present moment. His choices suggest an artist thinking about longevity, about what remains meaningful years from now rather than what trends today. Italy's enduring cultural footprint offers a powerful reminder that art rooted in sincerity and patience can transcend time. This perspective aligns closely with Jungkook's evolving sense of responsibility toward his craft. That ARMY's quiet support continues to shape this moment in subtle ways. Fans are not filling the silence with pressure, but with understanding. Many speak about Jungkook's journey as if it were a shared emotional process rather than a spectacle. This mutual respect allows the mission to exist without urgency, reinforcing the idea that trust, once built, does not require constant reaffirmation. The longer Jungkook remains out of view, the more apparent it becomes that this mission is not about disappearance, but about presence of a different kind. He is present in intention, in care, and in the invisible work that precedes meaningful creation. Italy, with its layered histories and unfinished masterpieces, offers daily reminders that not all processes need immediate resolution. There is also a quiet bravery in choosing this path. To step back at a moment when attention is guaranteed requires confidence not just in one's talent, but in one's purpose. Jungkook's decision suggests that he understands the difference between momentum and direction. Momentum moves quickly, but direction determines where one arrives. Italy feels like a place chosen to reassess direction rather than speed. When Jungkook eventually reemerges, it is unlikely that this period will be framed as a break or hiatus. Instead, it will be understood as a formative passage, one that reshaped how he approaches creation, visibility, and self-care. Fans may recognize traces of this time not through explicit references, but through a steadiness that feels new, a calm assurance that signals inner alignment. For now, the story remains intentionally unresolved. Italy continues to hold Jungkook's quiet growth within its timeless landscapes, while the world waits with softened expectations and deepened trust. This mission, still undefined in detail, has already revealed its essence. An artist choosing depth over immediacy, reflection over noise, and intention over explanation. And in that choice, Jungkook continues to redefine what it means to grow in the public eye, proving that sometimes the most powerful chapters are written not under bright lights, but in quiet places far from applause, where the only witness is time itself. As this period of quiet intention stretches onward, Jungkook's mission in Italy increasingly feels like a turning inward rather than a stepping away. It is not an escape from responsibility, but a deeper engagement with it. For an artist whose influence reaches millions, the responsibility is no longer just to produce, but to remain sincere. Italy, with its reverence for authenticity and lived experience, offers a space where sincerity can be rediscovered without interference. There is something profoundly human about this chapter. Stripped of stages, cameras, and expectations, Jungkook is allowed to exist as a person rather than a symbol. That distinction matters more than it seems. When artists are constantly viewed as representations rather than individuals, their work risks becoming detached from lived emotion. This mission appears to be Jungkook's way of re-anchoring himself in reality, ensuring that whatever he creates next is rooted in genuine experience rather than abstraction. The emotional resonance of this choice is not lost on fans. ARMY understands that Jungkook's greatest strength has never been perfection, but honesty. His willingness to show vulnerability, uncertainty, and growth has always been what makes his artistry resonate so deeply. Italy, with its imperfect beauty and visible traces of time, reflects that same honesty. Cracks in stone, faded paint, and unfinished structures do not diminish value, they enhance it. This philosophy feels closely aligned with the direction Jungkook seems to be embracing. As speculation fades into the background, reflection takes its place. Fans are no longer asking only what Jungkook is doing, but why it feels so meaningful. The answer lies not in concrete details, but in emotional truth. This mission represents a pause that is not empty, but full of listening, absorbing, and realigning. Full of moments that may never be shared directly, yet will shape everything that follows. There is also a quiet sense of courage in allowing this chapter to remain undefined. In an industry driven by schedules and outcomes, choosing ambiguity is an act of trust. Jungkook is trusting himself to find clarity without pressure, and trusting his audience to understand without explanation. That mutual trust transforms this mission into a shared emotional space rather than a distant rumor. Italy continues to hold this moment gently, offering Jungkook anonymity within beauty and solitude without isolation. Whether he is walking alone, sitting quietly, or simply observing the world move at a different pace, each moment contributes to a larger internal shift. These are the kinds of experiences that cannot be staged or replicated, only lived. When this chapter eventually closes, its influence will likely reveal itself gradually, not as a dramatic before and after, but as a subtle steadiness, a grounded presence, a clarity of intention that feels earned rather than performed. Fans may not immediately point to Italy and say this is where everything changed, but they will feel it in the way Jungkook carries himself, creates, and communicates. Until then, the story remains beautifully incomplete. Jungkook's mission in Italy stands as a quiet testament to the power of slowing down, of choosing depth in a world that rewards speed. It reminds us that growth does not always announce itself, and that some of the most important transformations happen far from view. In this ongoing silence, Jungkook is not absent. He is becoming, and that becoming, shaped gently within Italy's timeless embrace, continues to unfold, patiently, intentionally, and on his own terms. This quiet mission continues. Jungkook's time in Italy begins to stand as a subtle counterpoint to everything his career has represented so far. Not in opposition, but in balance. For years, his life has been defined by movement, touring, recording, rehearsing, performing, each moment measured and purposeful. Now, purpose seems to be found in stillness. Italy offers him something rare, the chance to let meaning arrive naturally rather than be scheduled. There is a growing sense that Jungkook is allowing himself to listen more than he speaks. Listening to unfamiliar languages, to the rhythm of daily life unfolding without urgency, and perhaps most importantly, to his own inner voice. For an artist whose instincts have been sharpened by years of discipline, this kind of listening can be transformative. It strips away noise and reveals what truly matters beneath layers of expectation. Fans have begun to describe this period not as a mystery, but as a meditation. Jungkook's absence has encouraged reflection not only about his future, but about the nature of creativity itself. What does it mean to create honestly in a world that constantly demands more? Jungkook's quiet mission seems to suggest that the answer lies in presence rather than production. Italy, where daily life often feels ceremonial in its simplicity, reinforces this idea with every passing moment. There is also an emotional reassurance embedded in this journey. Jungkook is not disappearing. He is preparing. Preparation, unlike performance, often happens in silence. It requires vulnerability, patience, and trust in one's instincts. By choosing to prepare away from the spotlight, Jungkook is protecting the fragile beginnings of whatever is taking shape, allowing it to grow without external pressure. That ARMY's response continues to mirror this gentleness. Messages of support now speak less about anticipation and more about well-being. Fans express hope that Jungkook is resting, learning, and finding joy in ordinary moments. This shift reflects a deeper understanding that an artist's health, emotional and creative, is inseparable from the art they share. Jungkook's mission has become a reminder that caring for oneself is not separate from creating meaning. It is part of it. Italy's influence, meanwhile, feels increasingly symbolic. A place where time is visible, where history is not erased but carried forward. Italy embodies the idea that growth is cumulative. Jungkook's journey here does not erase his past, it builds upon it. Every stage, every song, every shared moment with fans becomes part of the foundation he now stands on. Looking ahead with clarity rather than haste, as the world continues to wait, the absence of answers feels less uncomfortable and more intentional. Jungkook's silence has created space for reflection, for trust, and for anticipation that is rooted in respect rather than demand. This space is rare, and its rarity makes it valuable. When Jungkook eventually reemerges, it is unlikely that this period will be framed as a break or hiatus. Instead, it will be understood as a formative passage, one that reshaped how he approaches creation, visibility, and self-care. Fans may recognize traces of this time not through explicit references, but through a steadiness that feels new, a calm assurance that signals inner alignment. For now, the story remains intentionally unresolved. Italy continues to hold Jungkook's quiet growth within its timeless landscapes, while the world waits with softened expectations and deepened trust. This mission, still undefined in detail, has already revealed its essence. An artist choosing depth over immediacy, reflection over noise, and intention over explanation. And in that choice, Jungkook continues to redefine what it means to grow in the public eye, proving that sometimes the most powerful chapters are written not under bright lights, but in quiet places far from applause, where the only witness is time itself. This period of quiet intention stretches onward, Jungkook's mission in Italy increasingly feels like a turning inward rather than a stepping away. It is not an escape from responsibility, but a deeper engagement with it. For an artist whose influence reaches millions, the responsibility is no longer just to produce, but to remain sincere. Italy, with its reverence for authenticity and lived experience, offers a space where sincerity can be rediscovered without interference. There is something profoundly human about this chapter. Stripped of stages, cameras, and expectations, Jungkook is allowed to exist as a person rather than a symbol. That distinction matters more than it seems. When artists are constantly viewed as representations rather than individuals, their work risks becoming detached from lived emotion. This mission appears to be Jungkook's way of re-anchoring himself in reality, ensuring that whatever he creates next is rooted in genuine experience rather than abstraction. The emotional resonance of this choice is not lost on fans. ARMY understands that Jungkook's greatest strength has never been perfection, but honesty. His willingness to show vulnerability, uncertainty, and growth has always been what makes his artistry resonate so deeply. Italy, with its imperfect beauty and visible traces of time, reflects that same honesty. Cracks in stone, faded paint, and unfinished structures do not diminish value, they enhance it. This philosophy feels closely aligned with the direction Jungkook seems to be embracing. As speculation fades into the background, reflection takes its place. Fans are no longer asking only what Jungkook is doing, but why it feels so meaningful. The answer lies not in concrete details, but in emotional truth. This mission represents a pause that is not empty, but full of listening, absorbing, and realigning. Full of moments that may never be shared directly, yet will shape everything that follows. There is also a quiet sense of courage in allowing this chapter to remain undefined. In an industry driven by schedules and outcomes, choosing ambiguity is an act of trust. Jungkook is trusting himself to find clarity without pressure and trusting his audience to understand without explanation. That mutual trust transforms this mission into a shared emotional space rather than a distant rumor. Italy continues to hold this moment gently, offering Jungkook anonymity within beauty and solitude without isolation. Whether he is walking alone, sitting quietly, or simply observing the world move at a different pace, each moment contributes to a larger internal shift. These are the kinds of experiences that cannot be staged or replicated, only lived. When this chapter eventually closes, its influence will likely reveal itself gradually, not as a dramatic before and after, but as a subtle steadiness, a grounded presence, a clarity of intention that feels earned rather than performed. Fans may not immediately point to Italy and say this is where everything changed, but they will feel it in the way Jungkook carries himself, creates, and communicates. Until then, the story remains beautifully incomplete. Jungkook's mission in Italy stands as a quiet testament to the power of slowing down, of choosing depth in a world that rewards speed. It reminds us that growth does not always announce itself, and that some of the most important transformations happen far from view. In this ongoing silence, Jungkook is not absent. He is becoming, and that becoming, shaped gently within Italy's timeless embrace, continues to unfold, patiently, intentionally, and on his own terms. This quiet mission continues. Jungkook's time in Italy begins to stand as a subtle counterpoint to everything his career has represented so far. Not in opposition, but in balance. For years, his life has been defined by movement, touring, recording, rehearsing, performing, each moment measured and purposeful. Now, purpose seems to be found in stillness. Italy offers him something rare, the chance to let meaning arrive naturally rather than be scheduled. There is a growing sense that Jungkook is allowing himself to listen more than he speaks. Listening to unfamiliar languages, to the rhythm of daily life unfolding without urgency, and perhaps most importantly, to his own inner voice. For an artist whose instincts have been sharpened by years of discipline, this kind of listening can be transformative. It strips away noise and reveals what truly matters beneath layers of expectation. Fans have begun to describe this period not as a mystery, but as a meditation. Jungkook's absence has encouraged reflection not only about his future, but about the nature of creativity itself. What does it mean to create honestly in a world that constantly demands more? Jungkook's quiet mission seems to suggest that the answer lies in presence rather than production. Italy, where daily life often feels ceremonial in its simplicity, reinforces this idea with every passing moment. There is also an emotional reassurance embedded in this journey. Jungkook is not disappearing. He is preparing. Preparation, unlike performance, often happens in silence. It requires vulnerability, patience, and trust in one's instincts. By choosing to prepare away from the spotlight, Jungkook is protecting the fragile beginnings of whatever is taking shape, allowing it to grow without external pressure. That ARMY's response continues to mirror this gentleness. Messages of support now speak less about anticipation and more about well-being. Fans express hope that Jungkook is resting, learning, and finding joy in ordinary moments. This shift reflects a deeper understanding that an artist's health, emotional and creative, is inseparable from the art they share. Jungkook's mission has become a reminder that caring for oneself is not separate from creating meaning. It is part of it, Italy's influence, meanwhile, feels increasingly symbolic. A place where time is visible, where history is not erased but carried forward. Italy embodies the idea that growth is cumulative. Jungkook's journey here does not erase his past, it builds upon it. Every stage, every song, every shared moment with fans becomes part of the foundation he now stands on. Looking ahead with clarity rather than haste, as the world continues to wait, the absence of answers feels less uncomfortable and more intentional. Jungkook's silence has created space for reflection, for trust, and for anticipation that is rooted in respect rather than demand. This space is rare, and its rarity makes it valuable. As the quiet stretch of this mission continues, Jungkook's time in Italy begins to feel like a lesson in intentional living, not only for himself, but for everyone watching from afar. Without saying a word, he is demonstrating that purpose does not always require explanation. In an industry built on immediacy, his choice to move at a human pace feels quietly revolutionary. Italy, with its unhurried mornings and evenings that linger, offers the perfect counterpoint to a life once dictated by clocks and countdowns. There is a growing awareness that this chapter is shaping Jungkook's relationship with his own identity. For years, his name has carried layers of meaning assigned by audiences, media, and expectation. Here, removed from those layers, he is simply present. This presence, unadorned and unobserved, allows him to reconnect with the self that existed before labels, before global recognition. It is within that reconnection that genuine clarity often emerges. Fans sense this, even without confirmation. The language surrounding Jungkook's mission has softened, becoming less about discovery and more about understanding. ARMY speaks of this time as if it were necessary, inevitable even. There is comfort in believing that Jungkook is not lost in silence, but found within it. This shared belief transforms uncertainty into quiet confidence. Italy's influence continues to resonate through metaphor rather than evidence. Its streets do not shout their history, they whisper it. Its art does not demand attention, it rewards patience. These qualities align seamlessly with the direction Jungkook appears to be taking. His artistry has always favored feeling over spectacle, connection over display. This mission feels like an extension of that truth into his lived experience as days pass. The idea of a major mission becomes less about outcome and more about process. The mission is not just what Jungkook may eventually release, but how he is choosing to live now. By allowing himself to slow down, to observe, and to exist without constant output, he is investing in a future that values sustainability over exhaustion. This choice carries weight far beyond a single project. There is also an understated generosity in this approach. By taking the time he needs, Jungkook is ensuring that whatever he shares next will come from a place of fullness rather than depletion. Fans may not see the effort happening, but they will feel its effects. Depth has a way of reaching people quietly, lingering long after the initial moment passes. As this chapter remains unresolved, it becomes increasingly clear that it is not meant to be consumed in real time. Like many meaningful journeys, its significance will only be fully understood once it has shaped something tangible. Until then, Italy stands as a place of becoming rather than revealing, a space where intention gathers strength before expression. Jungkook's mission in Italy continues, not defined by headlines or updates, but by a steady inward movement. And in that movement lies a powerful truth, that growth does not always need witnesses, and that sometimes the most important work an artist does is the work no one sees. The story remains open, patient, and quietly alive, much like Jungkook himself in this moment, moving forward not toward noise, but toward meaning.